we're going to be talking about one of the ways that we bypass our healing, which is a way that we wouldn't necessarily see it. There are many different ways we do bypass our healing, but in this evening session, I want to talk about how being strong itself, or our version of strong, or what we've learned is strong, can be a bypass to our own healing. Now, we're born in our natural state. So as a human, we're born, it's like kind of like a blank canvas. And a human born in its natural state, a human in their natural state is an innately healthy state to be in. And then we go through many experiences in our lives that program us. And this is just the way that humans work. We learn through emotions as well. The neuralist part of our minds, which is the learning part, at the core of them, we have our emotions. So we also learn through the way an experience made us feel. Now, we live in the emotional dark ages. That means most, if not all, the people around you in your life have not been able to be there for you emotionally. That means as a humanity, as a society, we've not really understood how we work emotionally, and we're not able to be there for each other emotionally. So there's been a lot of emotional neglect in our experiences in our lives. And we have social beliefs as well as our small social circles, individual beliefs as well. The social circle is what our family is. So our family unit will have their own beliefs, but that unit also has a lot of beliefs that also society has. Without us knowing what's going on, and we do get programmed, we get generational programming as well. So my parents or my mom or my dad will have been programmed and learned from theirs, which are my grandparents, and then theirs and theirs. So there's a lot of generational programming being passed down as well through the years. And with the parenting style of good behavior, reward, bad behavior, punishment, there's a lot that we learn that's actually very unhealthy for us. So there's all of these unhealthy behaviors being passed down through the generations. With that, we get programmed and we learn that we should be a certain way and we shouldn't be a certain way. And the reason that happened is because what the attempts to do to a child is to make them behave in a certain way. So it's actually a form of control. Now, if we're going to follow the generational beliefs that have been, everything passed down, there's a belief in, well, what does it mean to be strong? And one of the biggest and most complicated things we get told is that you need to be strong. We're told, big boys don't cry, big girls don't cry. We're actually told in the words like, no, you have to be strong. Strength is a desire. So in the moments where we are strong, we're praised for that. And through our experiences of the mainstream parenting style of good behavior, reward, bad behavior, punishment, the bad behavior is met with fear-based punishment. What that does as well is it takes away the connection that we rely on. And that's annihilation for a human. So we're always trying to be accepted, and the praise is acceptance. So when we're praised for strength, we realize that being strong is accepted. So in a moment where my parent will praise me for that, like, yes, now I know that I need to be strong. Okay, great. And we also see one of the reasons why it's one of the most complicated things that we go through is because we also see physical strength as a progression, which it is. As I become stronger, I am progressing. And we see this by going to the gym. We see it in sports. We, even as children, see adults, the ones that are capable, humans that can do more than me, as stronger than me. So our whole understanding of strong is kind of like being molded to just think this is better. It's better to be strong. And we've also got the biological elements in this as well. So like for, evolutionary examples, the strongest gets what they want. The strongest people always were able to push aside the weaker people and get what they want. The strongest can provide safety as well. So the strongest and strength is always seen as a desire. And that's okay. That's human of us. But this is where it gets complicated. And this is where it becomes a bypass for us. We've learned that strong is desirable. And the opposite of strong is weak. And weak is undesirable. Now, in the moments where I've actually been weak, it's shown me rejection. So I may have cried, and my parents and society have told me, that's weak, and I've been rejected. So there's a belief carried by my parents, by society, about what weakness is. Now again, I see strong as desirable, and which means that weak is undesirable. And I've learned I will do anything to be strong because that means I'm accepted. And I will do anything not to be weak because that means I'm rejected. And again, we live in the emotional dark ages. We live in a society that is extremely emotionally neglectful. So, what is it to be vulnerable? To be vulnerable is to be seen. It's to show the parts of yourself that you've learned isn't okay to be or okay to show. The parts of yourself that are the most you, the most authentic you. Some examples of this would be the parts of yourself that have been crying, parts of yourself that have been very angry, that have had a lot of fear. And as a society, we've been programmed to see vulnerability as a weakness. This will happen in the times we've been crying, and we may have been shamed by saying like, don't be a baby. What are you doing? You're crying like a baby. Like only babies cry. You don't want to cry. And again, that's that disconnect. In the moments where we may have been angry, we'd be seen as uncontrollable, or we would get scolded for being angry. In the moments where we may feel fear, and it's like, oh, he's just such a scaredy cat. Like, what are you doing? Like, there's no reason for you to be scared. So we've learned that weakness is undesirable, and I will do anything not to be weak because that means rejection. And through the experiences I've learned, my worth comes from when I'm praised. Because when I'm praised, that's when I get acceptance. So now I've learned, okay, so that's where my worth is. So we end up using strength or being strong to determine our worth. So if I'm strong, I'm accepted and I'm praised. When I'm accepted and I'm praised, that's me being worthy. So I need to be strong. And that means if I'm weak, I'm not worthy. And because I've learned that, and everyone's told me that in the moments where I'm vulnerable, that's weak. So now I've learned that when I'm vulnerable, I'm not worthy. What this does in the moments where I will be vulnerable to myself on my healing journey, I will use logic to try and get myself away from those parts of myself, because I have unconsciously learned that I'm not worthy for being vulnerable, because vulnerability means weak. So I may be on my own and an emotion might come up and I may want to cry, or I may be angry. And because of all the experiences I've had in my life, I've learned that that is not acceptable. So I try to talk myself out of it. I try to keep myself away from these parts of myself, because I've learned that being strong is desirable and I need to be strong to get through this. But the reason why I'm in this place is because I reject parts of myself. So if a part of myself is coming up, and let's say that part of myself carries anger or shame, any form of vulnerability, and I think, no, I have to be strong, in my attempt to try and better myself, I'm rejecting parts of myself. So then I'm actually doing the thing that caused me to be here in the first place. Your healing journey is about accepting all of these parts of yourself. It's about bringing these parts of yourself in, which is doing the exact opposite of what we've been doing this whole time, which is pushing them away. So again, what do I do from here? How can I help this situation now that I know this? I recognize that I'm a human and I have ways that I work. I realize that my programming needs updating. I need to, as well as learn new stuff, unlearn a load of stuff as well. I realize that the first 8 years of my life is when I set most of my beliefs. And because I've lived in such an emotionally neglectful time in human history, most of those beliefs are going to be based on the experiences I've had, which are going towards me being not good enough, me being unworthy. So I recognize what I've actually been through, how I work. I recognize that all humans get programmed. All humans go through life being programmed in a time where people don't know what's going on. I realize this and I remind myself what emotions are. Emotions are a communication. There is no such thing as should or shouldn't feel a certain way. I realize that the only reason I feel an emotion is because that's how I work. I wouldn't feel any emotion if that wasn't the way that I work. My emotions are communications. The only reason any part of me ever thinks that I shouldn't feel any way is because I have been programmed to believe that I shouldn't feel like that, because I've been brought up in a time where everyone around me has not known what's going on. That means that there is nothing wrong with me. It's not me. This is just how I work and I'm learning it. I put myself first. I start learning how to put myself first. I start learning how to cultivate and practice self-love for myself. Now, I don't need to show these parts of myself to people that can't be there for me. That's been proven many, many times throughout my life, that people unfortunately can't be there for me. And that's understandable. Yes, I'd love it if they could, but they can't. And every time I need someone to be able to see these parts of me, they don't, and it makes me feel worse. So I need to learn how to be there for myself. I need to validate every single way that I feel, because that's how I work as a human being. I need to keep reminding myself that my understanding of strong needs rewriting, that my understanding of weakness needs rewriting, my understanding of vulnerability needs rewriting, because I learn all of these things through the programming that I've been through, not what they actually are. So I need to, every time I become aware, I need to realize that being strong isn't actually the way forward. Having strength is different. The entire reason that you're still alive today is because you're strong enough to handle everything you've been through. So you all have strength by just being here. But it's about, I don't actually have the right understanding of what it is to be strong. Being vulnerable can be seen as a strength, and it really, really is. So I need to rewrite my understanding of what being strong is.